Hey, TNA fam, how we going? We're back again here at the podcast. It's more to talk, more TNA wrestling shenanigans. We got 3 more matches announced for Lockdown here. I'm not 100% sure which one of these to discuss first. Actually, you know what? Well, 2 of these other matches are title matches, so I guess we're talking about Lethal Lockdown! Yeah, I have to do it like that. It's in the contract, I swear. But I had to do something for Lethal Lockdown is back, baby! We knew there had to be a Lethal Lockdown in this upcoming thing here. So yeah, it is what it is. It is one of those things. But hey, it is what it is, as you say. So as we say, hey, I like to see these. And like, I think that they have a very good sub story going on, and it's a sub story we have talked about a lot, even indirectly in the podcast, and it's something that you just kind of talk about all the time. I think in wrestling, without even like really realizing it, I guess, is this old guard versus new guard thing. And I don't know whether I want to talk too much about the whole established stars stuff and things and nonsense and whatnot and all of that sort of stuff. Like, I've said it so many times before here on the channel, so I think you guys should know where I kind of stand on that sort of thing, at least to an extent. But yeah, like, obviously I don't want to just say the old guard, but that's what it's pitched as, you know what I mean? Because Bear Bronson is still fairly new and whatnot, but he is, I'd actually like to see him do some cool stuff and whatnot. But again, that is the storyline that you're telling, and maybe we'll get more into that story when we get like a bit closer to the actual show, I guess. Like, again, so that's where we're probably going to have it, I guess. But you're also got these other sub stories that you've got going on. There's like, I felt like, are you going to have, like, this is what the problem with having a proper faction is. If you have like a sub story with a faction, you've basically got to be like, well, why are we going to take them out of that faction and have them have this sub story? You know what I mean? But then it's like, well, that sub story is so good, but it's like, well, then, like, let's just try to tell that sub story rather than trying to tell 2 stories or whatever with these individuals, like, but you've still got to have that level of, connection there and whatnot. So yeah, and whatever. So it's like, yeah, tough for them to kind of always be doing the one same thing. And yeah, again, if you do the one same thing all the time, well, at a certain point that gets samey and it gets boring and it gets, like, well, what new stuff have you got, kind of thing. But yeah, I haven't even really announced all the participants, but like, oh my god, it's so many people, bro. It's basically the whole system except Cedric Alexander, which we'll get to talking about in a minute. Spoiler alert, but I'm sure a lot of you guys know that anyway. But yeah, so yeah, I'm not even going to. You guys know who these guys are, and whatnot. You guys know who the blue team is. You know who the red team is. You know who these guys are. It's a great story. It's actually a fairly good build in some ways, though it has been sort of stop-start, and it's kind of brought in some of these people more recently than some of the others or whatever. But again, like, at least it is something that people really like, and people really like a lot of the stars in this. I mean, maybe Fabian's a little bit, I don't want to just say bland, but a little bit bland. I don't want to just poop on the guy too much or whatever, but like, I don't know. You need to find ways for him to show more of his personality. And I don't want to just say he does the Italian guy things or whatever, but let's try to find some things like that for him to do. You know, Elijah's got his music, so you should show this guy, you know, doing some things that feel like they relate to him, and then, you know, not just training, but actual things that are like, he has other passions and other interests and whatnot, and he's a more rounded person than I am an Italian guy and I have that heritage. But, you know, like, maybe he could, like, and actually, like, this would work really well for heel gimmick later down the road. He serves them like a death notice or whatever else it is. I know, like, there have been a lot of these sorts of things in the past, but you could do that with him, or like the black spot. That was the old Pirates thing, the black spot and whatnot. Things like that, or the mafia hits, you know, like you could be like that, doing that sort of thing. Like, he has his own mafia, you know, like, or whatever. You know, like, those sorts of things. But, or he has to go to the mafia for help, and now he's got to, you know, like, you know, pay back the mafia, or, you know, he's actually running from the mafia or whatever. I mean, there's so many little tropes. You don't want to do those tropes. Or maybe he can be like, oh, I faced another group of thugs, the mafia, before, you know, like, things like that. Little things, even little things like that. I mean, yeah, it's not gonna be everything, but even little things like that, you know, just to add a little bit to him, you know, like, yeah, like, that's the problem. Like, a lot of these things, you haven't done a lot with them, and you haven't really showcased what they're all about enough. And that sort of thing, especially if you want people to be excited and interested, and like, you can be a bit mysterious and whatever else it is and all that sort of stuff as well. But, like, that actually has to be an implied thing. So, yeah. But anyway, let's move on, because alright, we'll talk about the other match involving the other member of the system, Cedric Alexander versus Leon Slater. Dear God, I heard about this match like weeks and weeks and weeks ago, because of the stipulation that was put on this match. And I actually think it's a good thing in some ways, because, like, I've said this for a while, and I don't know which way things are gonna go, but I keep saying this, and I keep saying it, and I'm gonna keep saying it, and I'm gonna keep trying to push this out into the world, and hope against hope that Leon is staying. Maybe, potentially, possibly, I don't know. Just maybe. Just possibly. Please. I don't, like, the TNA needs guys like Leon Slater. TNA needs to be able to keep some of these new young guys around for a few more years, like Leon Slater and a few of those other guys, Ricky Sosa and so on. Even Bear Bronson and some of the other people that they've added in the last couple of months, in the last couple of years, or whatever. Like, we've had a lot of people come and go of late, but you need to keep these young people that, you know, you have potential for. And they're, like, if you, like, I know that the temptation is always there to go to WWE for everybody, but, like, obviously that's where a lot of that, and I even said that, or I even felt that with this. Like, if Leon loses, then you have that distinct feeling that, well, he's WWE bound, you know, pretty much after this. So, And not to say that TNA can't bounce back from that or whatever else it is, because they can, absolutely. But would it be better if Leon stayed? Abso-freaking-lutely. It would be way better if Leon stayed, because then we would have, a very high-level star on our hands. And unfortunately, in some ways, yeah, I've got to be real, man. Yeah, this is giving me the vibes, because there's not enough working for it in that regard. I mean, Slater fairly recently lost it. Cedric has barely just won it. He's barely really defended it, basically. I mean, you've told a really good story with these two, but again, it is well timed that story is done, over, finished, no more. If Leon wins, then that means there's more to come. You know what I mean? So, I don't, not that there's nothing more that you can do with them, but, at a certain point, Christ almighty, when is it gonna end? So, yeah, unfortunately, that does feel like, again, that writing on the wall sort of thing, and I don't like that. I don't love that. I don't want that. I don't want to think like that. Like I said, I want to feel like, oh man, if it happens, it happens. But if it doesn't, hey, most of the time. Because again, if he's going to WWE, I wish him the best of luck up there with the bullshit politics and whatnot and all of that sort of stuff that's going on up there and all that. But it is what it is. So, if he decides to go, he decides to go at the end of the day. But if he doesn't and he stays here, it does make me go, again, you're a lot of things that are just going against it, like hot potatoing the title, which I don't like and I don't think, you should ever do, or whatever else it is. But you've tried to extend it as much as what you can and that sort of thing, so that, it feels like, oh man, yeah, it's as far away as what we could try to make it work. So that I understand that. But yeah, we might have to get more into this when we get to the proper preview, which will only be next week, really, as well, because it's next week is the Go Home show, which realistically, a lot of the stuff that's on, from what I've heard on the Go Home show, that's going to be a pretty mid Go Home show, honestly, and I don't really know what else they're going to announce. The last match, unfortunately, is pretty mid as well, at least in terms of the build. As far as the wrestlers in it, pretty good, I guess. They did try to do some stuff this week to help build up the story between these two. But, yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. Elena Black versus Aya Brookside for the Knockouts World title. I feel like Brookside's just winning, unfortunately, in some way. But, yeah, I've that's all I got to say, really. Because she's barely just won it again. So it's yeah, well, why would she lose it? You're not going to play hot potato with another title, especially if you are going to play hot potato with the other title. You're not going to hot potato two titles. You know what I mean? So I just don't see it. Yeah, definitely one of these titles is not going anywhere, and it's definitely not this one. I at least could see some potential for Leon and Cedric to actually have something happen there, but I can't see it happening here, unfortunately. I actually kind of like Elena a lot, but she hasn't really been able to show her babyface character all that much, and explain what this sort of means to her yet, and maybe they'll get to that next week or whatever else it is. But, you know, like, even then, it's like, so what? To an extent, unfortunately, it's a little bit too late. Again, a lot of these things, you could have seen them coming a mile away a couple of weeks ago, and you could have announced them a couple of weeks ago and whatnot. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just silly in some ways when it's like, why haven't we done more with this, or why haven't we got this to this point, or why haven't we done that, or what, like, with some of these things, especially like this, it's pretty, unfortunately, lackluster in that regard in terms of the feud and whatnot. And again, it's more of this just, let's book for the next month and then figure it out type booking. Instead of going, okay, all right, let's figure out, like, maybe more than a month in advance of, how we're going to put things together, and actually build something, for a few weeks and for a few months, and hopefully they've kind of done that this week with some stuff they did in the Indy Hartwell match, that was with M. Biagas. BTW, really good match. They're pretty much probably like the second best maybe match that they've had for the Knockouts TV title tournament, I think, in the whole thing. The problem has been with that tournament, and I don't want to go into it too deeply because we're not really going to touch on it too much. Maybe when the championship is decided, I guess we'll talk about it, but there hasn't been a lot of story for anybody. The only real kind of half story has been, like, what if the two Elegance brand members meet in the final? And, like, I don't know whether this was jokingly on commentary tonight. They said, what if they pull the finger poke of doom? And I was like, bro, why even mention that? Like, that sort of is that. I know, like, DX did this as well in WWE back in '97 when, I think it was when Triple H faced Shawn Michaels for the European title. And it was like, okay, they just basically laid down for the other one and whatnot. That sort of stuff that goofy sort of stuff just really hurts your product a lot of the time. And obviously it actually made sense in that regard, at least, but yeah, I think it was dumb overall, like, but, instead of saying, hey, Sean, you got to put your title up on the line against somebody you don't want to drop the title to, or whatever, or whatnot, and instead of building somebody that, to actually take it off you, you're just gonna have Triple H lay down in the middle of the ring. Oh, you're just gonna lay down for Triple H in the middle of the ring. Okay, cool. After all those politics to actually get the belt in the frickin' first place off of Bulldog in the UK, or was it Germany? I can't remember. I think it was the UK, but I can't remember anyway. So if somebody corrects me that it was Germany, sorry. But anyway, whatever. I just think, like, mentioning that is funny, haha, funny in a way, but realistically, the thing is, like, it is such a wrestling thing that basically everyone kind of knows what it is. But, like, to actually, like, that's kind of a shoot. You know what I mean? That's an out of the wrestling, well, outside of kayfabe wrestling kind of thing. You know what I mean? It was a moment that broke WCW more than anything else. It broke the fans' trust in it. You know what I mean? Not that would do that in that regard, but it would be like, what do the fans pay to see? You know what I mean? So that's why it sort of can't happen. The fans pay to see wrestling. That's what's on the marquee at the end of the day. So, you know, and like, yeah, it always comes down to, well, who's doing the job for who? And then it becomes like, well, I don't want to do the job for you. No, I don't want to do the job for you. Well, shit, now what do? We plan to do the job for one another, or for, to say, hey, one of us has to do the job for the other, but now we can't agree on, then you're exposing that this is a work, you know? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't know. Or that people can just do the job for people, that sort of thing, which is just, not a way that you should, like, reference the matches being able to happen, in a way, But, and it's not a moment that TNA owns any rights to. So, it's a bit weird. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was just an offhand remark or whatever. I don't know, but still, I don't like it. I honestly don't think that they should go anywhere near it. But like, unfortunately, I was gonna say with this like matchup, this title tournament, like Indy Hartwell was probably the biggest superstar in there, and it was like, well, it feels like she's gonna win, but she's out now. But the thing is, in a way that's good, because it's like, well, you kind of need to push Indy in that main event picture, or at least if you're gonna say, okay, well, at least for now, at least for a little while, she's gonna be out of the picture for this, for this title. Maybe she'll get an opportunity once the title is won by somebody or something, blah 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 down the line or whatever. But we'll have to wait and see. But, like, at least for now, maybe we'll move her on to doing something else for a little while. And maybe she should be in the main event. And maybe she should do something else. Or maybe she should have a feud with somebody. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe, like, I've said, like, she should form a tag team. But I don't know whether that's gonna happen or not. Hasn't really seemed like it. Or whatever. But maybe that's the thing that she needs. I don't know. Yeah, but still, like, yeah, it does get me interested to see what we're gonna do here with some stuff, I guess. Mostly with Cedric and that and Leon. Mostly because I guess, like, again, like, I don't know exactly when Leon's contract begins, middles, and ends. I don't know, but I know that it must be getting close to an end to some extent, so, and I don't know, maybe there is that level of, to some extent, like, well, we don't want them because they weren't our hires, or it wasn't our decision to put them on the books, or whatever, that was under the last administration, or whatever. But then again, there's a lot of people that are on the current roster, and hopefully will be for a long time, that have been under lots of different administrations, and it's like, well, we can't just get rid of everybody. That's how a wrestling company works. It works on, friggin' the wrestlers, and the fact that the fans come to see those wrestlers. So, again, yeah, that's where you've got to have that thing that, people will come to see, so. But anyway, guys, that is pretty much it for this one. Yeah, we will have a look next week, perhaps just to see if there's I'm sure there'll be some, pre-show or countdown show matches, but, like, beyond that, I don't think there's gonna be a whole lot on this show more added. I think this is pretty much most of it. And it is a pretty big filled card at this point as well. So adding too many other matches, especially without stipulations and especially without a lot of build, does give them that feeling of, well, so what? One question that I kind of do have, though, with this, in some ways, with the with the match between the system and whatnot is why Harley Hudson isn't in the match instead of Jade or Stone or whatever. But yeah, all right, whatever. Maybe that's to be revealed next week or whatever, because they did say that next week will be the finals for. Oh no, well not next week, but next week after lockdown will be a live episode and some tapings. And that is going to be I believe the main event's going to be the Knockouts final tournament match. So yeah, okay, all right, or at least I think or at least it's going to be on that show. But yeah, anyway, guys, we'll wait and see for that. We'll wait and see for a lot of things as well upcoming, and then we'll start the walk to Bound for Glory. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this one and hope you see you again in another one.